Hey everyone, Pat Beliveau here. It is June 8th. Yeah, I've been away for a bit, so I just haven't been posting. So I decided I should get another one out there, and yeah, here I am. Hope everybody's isolation is going well and all that interesting stuff. But anyway, this one's a quick video, just a different topic, non-gig story kind of topic. And this one is, was trying to think of questions people asked me in the past about stuff. Not necessarily like emailing me, asking me, but just, people who have asked me in lessons or interviews or whatever. And this one I thought I'd make this video about gigs that I might regret having to have said no to and wish I was able to do but couldn't. So I thought about that a little bit, and I came up with 4 significant gigs that I unfortunately had to say no to, and a little piece of me died each time that I had to say no to these things. But anyway, that's kind of how things work sometimes. You get you book yourself on something, and that could be a very important thing. And I think in most cases with this, it was important gigs I was already booked on. Then I got called to do these other ones, and I had to say no, and it just killed me to say no to these things. But anyway, pardon me. So is the way that the business operates. So anyway, the first one, I've made mention to it before now, and it was when I was out on my first tour in 1990 with Vic Damone, Diane Carroll. I made mention of it in a previous video, that the band leader on Vic and Diane's tour, Fred Radke, who's a trumpet player from Seattle, played in Harry James' band towards the end of Harry's career. He was the band leader, and while I was out with him and his band doing Vic and Diane's tour, before the tour ended, he approached me about staying in LA for about 4 or 5 days after that tour was done, and then immediately going out on another one, a 6-week tour with Florence Henderson and Pat Boone. And I think I'd said before, as much as it would have been fun to spend 6 weeks with Mrs. Brady, I'm sure she had some great stories, but I had some previous stuff back home that I'd booked, and I was also flying down to the Maritimes for about 10 days, I think it was, something like that, at that time of the year as well. And that was just before Christmas. And then right after Christmas, actually on my birthday, January 1st, I was flying out to LA to join the Jimmy Dorsey Orchestra tour for 3 months. So had I done that, that whole stretch from my first tour in September of 1990 up until the end of my first cruise ship, actually before my cruise ship, would have been 22 weeks of touring, and I just felt that I didn't want to be doing that much. So I said no. So I kind of did have a few regrets about that, but anyway, whatever. That's how that went down. The second one also involved Fred Radke, and this one came kind of out of the blue and was kind of a surprise, and it's not something I've ever mentioned before. I recorded my first CD as a first solo CD in September of 1997. And it was a fairly colossal undertaking, and I brought up Paul Wertico from Chicago. He was with Pat Metheny's group still at the time. And I brought up Bobby Shue from Los Angeles to play trumpet on some stuff. I brought Kent Sangster, tenor player, down from Edmonton for a track, and I had hotels to book and studio time and writing charts and all these things. And I remember probably about 3 weeks before, maybe a month before my recording was to take place in September, I got a call from Fred Radke, and he said to me he wanted me to come on a cruise that the Harry James band was doing. They were going to do a cruise out of Fort Lauderdale through the Gulf of Mexico to a few spots in the Caribbean, and I think tips of South America, maybe Aruba and Colombia, something like that. And then they were going to sail through the Panama Canal, and then up the coast of Mexico and all that Mexican Riviera, up to San Francisco, and then they were going to disembark, and they were going into San Francisco to record an album. And he asked me if I would be interested in going, and I said, okay. I said, of course I would, but what are the dates? And the dates that he gave me completely coincided with my CD recording here with Paul Wertico and Bobby Shue and all those guys. And I had so much stuff already done. And, those guys are busy and they're hard to nail down. And, I was getting charts ready and booking hotels and travel arrangements. And there was just so much that I would have to just fold up, and I would lose a whole bunch of money, like on flights and hotels and things like that. And who knows when these guys would be available again, because I'd been talking to them for months about being available to come up. So I unfortunately had to tell Fred that I couldn't, because I'm recording my first CD as a soloist. So anyway, that one again died, piece of my soul died with that one, unfortunately. The third one kind of came out of the blue, and it was very cool that I got the call for this, but I sure didn't see it coming. And it was to play at the Calgary Blues Festival with the Funk Brothers. Now, the Funk Brothers, as if some of you don't know, was the the rhythm section of a lot of the R&B Motown recordings and stuff like that. The studio guys that did all those things, they got their own group together and did a whole bunch of, they did live performances too. And interestingly enough, I would be subbing for LA saxophonist Tom Scott. That's who I would be subbing for if I could do this gig, because Tom Scott wasn't able to do it. And I couldn't do it. And I was out of town. I had a gig out of town that I was the leader on, and I'd booked well in advance, and it was not something that I was able to get out of. And, I paced up and down about that one. That one was a tough one to swallow. Yeah, so I unfortunately said I couldn't do it, and I'm kicking myself even now for not, being able to do that. But anyway, that's how these things work. That was number 3. And number 4 happened probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. I was called to play with wonderful pianist singer named Carol Welsman. What a sweet lady, and a great, great singer. Originally from Toronto, but she lives in LA now, and does go back and forth. She's, I think, a 6-time Juno nominee. So I was asked to play with her at the River Park Church here in Calgary, and I said, yes, please. Like, I would love to, because I'd met Carol before, and I think I might have actually played with her briefly before as well. As a matter of fact, I know I did. So I was really looking forward to getting together to play with her again. And then I got an email from Ross Vanelli, Gino Vanelli's brother and manager, saying that Gino was going to be playing in town at one of the casinos here. And when he said the date, it was the same date that I had been booked with Carol Welsman. So again, a little piece of my soul died when I had to go back to him and say, no, I couldn't do it. So, because I would love to have been on that gig. So I emailed Ross Vanelli back, and I said, I can't this time around because I'm already booked. But if Gino comes back to town, please consider me again. Let me know ahead of time. Give me as much lead time as you can so I can book off that time. So, yeah, that was another one that got away. And that one kind of, again, that is still kind of, I have an open wound where these are concerned. Yeah, that was a drag for me. But anyway, you know, the fact that I was even considered to do these gigs was so cool. And I was so glad that I got the call for these. But you know, that's just how things happen. You know, there have been times where I've been booked on one weekend out of a whole month, 3 out of 4 weekends free, and I'll get a call for 3 or 4 gigs the same weekend. And it's just, nobody ever said it was fair. But anyway, it is what it is. So I've had stuff like that happen before, and it's unfortunate. But like I said, the fact that I get calls for these types of gigs every so often is very cool. You know, some of them that I've gotten out of the blue like that I've actually been able to do have been like, you know, Colin James at the Jubilee Auditorium here in Calgary, or the Temptations, or some, you know, groups like that are BJ Thomas, you know, that have been really great gigs. And I've luckily been able to do those. So those are fun. But there's 4 that got away, and I still, like I say, as you can see, shake my head. And it still bugs me that I wasn't able to do those. But anyway, like I said, the fact that I was getting calls for them was pretty freaking cool. Anyway, I just wanted to share that today, and you know, get another video out and say hi to you guys and all that stuff. So anyway, as I always say at the end of these videos, I do have an email address set up, which I will post below with the little down arrow. It's youtube@belltones.ca, YOUTUBE at BELLTONES.ca, youtube@belltones.ca. If you have any gig topics that you want me to mention, or any questions or comments, please send me a message there. I will certainly get back to you. No spam, please. And no freaky stuff. I like freaky stuff, but I don't like to be spammed. So, you know, yeah, and I will gladly get back to you, and we'll discuss or whatever, and even say hi if you want. Send me a message, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to post this now, and I've got another video I think I might do tomorrow that I got some new audio stuff from one of my tours that I did back a number of years ago in the States. So that I want to share with you as well. So that'll come in the next day or two, though. But anyway, I hope all is well with you guys. Take care. And we'll talk soon. Email me if you want to say hi, or if you have any suggestions.